Hello, I'm Marissa Schaefer.
And I'm Jenna Cantor, and welcome to Physiotherapy Performance Perspectives, a physical therapy podcast for performing artists.
Today we are interviewing Dr. Chad Van Ramshorst, or Dr. Van, and Robert Tsai in Houston, Texas. We are at the International Association for Dance Medicine and Sciences annual conference, and we welcome you both and are super glad that we had a moment to chat with you.
Hello, hello.
Hello, so glad to be here.
Dr. Van is a practicing physical therapist in Northern Virginia who graduated from Chapman University's Doctoral program. He is originally from Southern California, where he started his training at the Orange County High School of the Arts in the commercial dance department, where he was represented by Clear Talent Agency as he pursued commercial work in LA. He continued his dance education at Chapman University, where he received his BFA in dance performance. Post-graduation, he moved to New York, dancing professionally for several contemporary dance companies. Dr. Van continues to remain active in the dance community through teaching, choreographing, and performing in the Northern Virginia area.
Rob Tsai, originally from Taipei, Taiwan, is currently a third-year Doctor of Physical Therapy student at Chapman University in Irvine, California. Rob was exposed to break-in in middle school, which eventually led to an interest in other forms of dance. While attending Chapman University, Rob had the privilege to train in ballet, jazz, and various modern dance techniques. Rob spent 8 years pursuing a career in the commercial dance industry in Los Angeles, in addition to teaching dance in the U.S. and Taiwan. Rob's decision to pursue physical therapy stems from his passion for dance and dancers and hopes to bring awareness to dance injury research and prevention. And I would like to add, you are our two first gentlemen on this podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Dr. Van and Rob are here today to discuss injury prevention for the upper extremity and modern, contemporary, and breakdancing techniques, a topic that they actually presented here at the conference. Okay, we're going to dive in. We wanted to start by asking you what the prevalence of upper extremity or upper body injury is in dance.
So this is something that's actually very interesting in the fact that currently there's not a lot of research on this topic. So there's not a lot of information to draw on in regards to statistics or knowing exactly what that percentage is. Through some of the presentations here today, there's been some results on possibly anywhere from like 16% to 20% of injuries that we're seeing in dance may be contributed or attributed to upper extremity. However, besides, the preliminary studies that are occurring, we don't know too much in regards to that exact number or amount or even severity of injuries that are occurring.
I think a lot of the stuff that we had to draw from, we actually looked at studies in gymnastics as far as, inversions, handstands, things like that, where it's not just being on all fours, but being completely on your arms. So we kind of looked at those studies and then tried to translate it back into how it's relevant to dancing and dancers. Obviously, there's some differences, but like Chad said, there's definitely a lack of research regarding upper extremity weight bearing in dance technique.
Interesting. I never thought of that. What styles of dance have a higher prevalence of upper extremity injury?
So that's also very interesting. It really depends on the genre and the type of dance that you're talking about. So what we presented here at the conference was dealing more with upper extremity weight bearing, so more actually putting weight in through some portion of the arm, whether it be through the wrist, through the elbow, balancing on your shoulder. But if you think about the upper extremity in general, even in ballet, you're going to see some injuries to the shoulder, and we don't necessarily think of ballet as something where you're going to be doing a handstand or using your hands much, but we see that more typically with the lifting, so you're seeing a lot more of the male type ballet dancers with the injuries because of the lifting and things and the demand they need to do that. However, then once you start to look in different genres, so in the modern or contemporary realm, you do have inversions, you do have these more acrobatic type movements that are occurring using the arm and putting weight through the arm. Not only that, with the transitions, you're also dealing with now kind of more of a gender neutral partnering situation where you do have females lifting females, females lifting males, and it kind of goes around to where now it's a little bit more of a complex situation.
I mean, I suppose it goes without saying that, break-in or more people know it as breakdancing, but the proper terminology we like to use in the culture is break-in, is predominantly a upper extremity weight-bearing form of dance, very similar to what you would see in like a floor routine in gymnastics. So with that said, the prevalence of injuries in break-in is actually research that has been ongoing and is currently occurring. I believe that we had a colleague, Nefeli Tsiudi, who presented on injury incidents in break-in, and there is a significant increase in upper extremity injuries compared to that of ballet or modern or contemporary forms of dance. I think one of the things that would put b-boys or breakers at high risk for injury is that it's a very unstructured form of dance.
Excellent.
So can we talk a little bit about how these injuries are often sustained, either via lifting or weight bearing or whatever else?
With social media and with the prevalence of mainstream media shows, I know from a modern contemporary standpoint with various companies that have been on big shows that are doing big acrobatic, that are still dance companies, but doing more acrobatic, more weight bearing, more lifting, more just absolutely crazy yet stunning movements, that some kids just go home and try these things, or it gets put into choreography without really being taught how it's properly supposed to be done. It's kind of more just like, okay, yeah, I saw this, that looks cool, let's do that.
So with breaking, what we're seeing is obviously a lot of impact, but you're not only dealing with your body weight coming down on top of your arm. Oftentimes we're also dealing with forces of rotation. So how do we make the dancers aware of how they react to these forces and how they, I guess, prevent themselves from going too far, twisting too much, and like I said, that comes down to awareness. Are we using muscle activation to be actively controlling our joints, or are we relying on ligaments and joint capsules and really stretching the structures that can't be stretched?
Yeah, I am ready. Now that we have all this great background information, let's move into the injury prevention side of things. So what are the best types of exercises a dancer could use to condition him or herself to decrease the risk of injury?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So exercises, with upper extremity injuries and trying to prevent injury, really what we're dealing with here is just having the adequate strength. Since we're starting to use our arms more like our legs, so putting weight through it, starting to travel using our arms across the floor and things like this, you want to make sure you have the proper strength and stability to support those joints.
And in talking about body weight exercises, we're not talking about throwing your legs up on the wall and trying to do handstand push-ups, because one, and then it's your body's not used to that position. So how can the dancer expect themselves to be able to control themselves there? So a lot of what we talked about in our workshop was really trying to raise awareness as far as progression into certain moves. So one thing we really tried to get the point across about was instead of having a static move, a position that you're just holding. So in the breaking language, holding a freeze, holding a pose, and I'm sure in modern and contemporary, right, static poses. Instead of just going straight into the static pose, learning how to control it dynamically. So you're learning how to move through a range of motion, learning how to control.
Yeah, absolutely. So could dancers who don't often find themselves performing on the floor, let's say classical ballerinas, for example, can they benefit from this kind of work you guys are talking about?
I think so, absolutely. I don't think this is something that's just specific to one genre. I think this is something that transcends various types of genres in dance. And I feel like part of that comes from this preconceived notion that, if you do upper extremity like resistance training, you're going to have bulky arms, or you're a ballerina, you shouldn't be lifting weights. And I'm not promoting going to the gym and lifting hundreds of pounds, but I think just in general, we neglect strengthening and thinking about how we keep our shoulder joints safe. Even in ballet, where you're not putting weight on it, if you don't have the adequate strength to control that arm and make sure it's stable, you can be putting yourself at risk for possible injury.
Great. So, how should a dancer incorporate these exercises into their weekly dancing or conditioning routine?
So as far as into, weekly dancing and conditioning routines, I think it's looking at what kind of movement they're doing, if, part of their repertoire, if they're part of a company or part of their choreographic work, I think is also important. If the choreographer has the awareness to kind of see what his movement themes are and being able to break those down, or even better, have a physical therapist come take a look, break those movements down, then perhaps that would contribute to decrease in injuries, because now you're training specifically for specific movement.
Hashtag choose PT.
Word.
Exactly. And from a teacher's perspective, and not just a PT's perspective, part of this is the responsibility of the dancer to do, their resistance training outside of class and be warm and be ready for class.
We're at our last and my favorite question. So please tell us what inspires you to discuss this topic here at IADAMS.
I mean, again, as a medical practitioner, as a physical therapist, as a dancer and artist myself, as a dance instructor and teacher, I know that coming to IADAMS, I'm going to get like-minded people. I know I can reach an audience that it's going to affect change. I know that on one hand, I'm, making medical practitioners aware of what might be causing these injuries, so they know how to properly do evaluations and what to be thinking about when they see a patient that's coming in with upper extremity, issues and is a dancer. And as an instructor, raising awareness about how this should be taught and what we need to start thinking about when we are giving combinations or choreography. And as a dancer myself, it's nice to teach other dancers, hey, if you do it this way, it'll be easier, or aesthetically it's going to look better, or it's going to make the way you move, the way you dance more impactful, because as an artist, I'm always looking how to improve my technique and improve the way I move. And I feel like that's just universal. And here at IADAMS, I know I can have all those different conversations with all those people in one place.
And with upper extremities, I guess, we talked about how we had to kind of go to gymnastics research to kind of see what was happening there. And then with the break-in and the hip-hop culture, I feel like that's that's definitely something that's been neglected as far as research goes. And it's kind of nice that there are people beginning to bring that to the forefront as the culture does become more popular again. And it's this is a group of individuals that are historically and traditionally, culturally in America, a socioeconomically challenged group of people, and these people deserve just as much care and as much attention as the person we see on stage in a concert hall. Does it matter that one person dances in the street and someone is dancing under stage lights? Like, I don't think so. I think this is something that needs to be addressed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you both for taking time out of your schedule to come talk to us.
Oh, no, thank you. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
This is
happy
great.
to have you. Really happy to have you. And as always, thank you to our listeners for joining us for another episode of Physiotherapy Performance Perspectives. Join us on the first Monday of every month for the next episode.
To hear more of our episodes, click on the link in the description below to view our website. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/PT Performance Perspectives to stay informed. And finally, if you want to get in touch, email us at ptperformanceperspectives@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.